When I first got the call from the THX team, I was completely shocked. When I got on the phone and they were like, hey, you know the deep note, and talked about the history of THX, of course, immediately I'm like, yeah, it's like I grew up with that. Like I associated with all of my favorite movies that I went to the theater to see. So when they said, hey, you want to help us make a new one? It's like, yeah, of course I do.
So Ben gave me a call and he just said, hey, what are you working on right now? You busy on anything? And he said, I might be working on this project for THX. And I remember just immediately being excited, thinking about just all the films I've seen as a kid and that being part of the movie-going experience. So to be able to have a chance to make something like that was really exciting for me.
I just remember all of the biggest, best sounding films always seemed to have that logo before they came out. I just knew that if I went to see a film and I saw that play before, something special was about to happen. It just set it apart.
The thing that always stood out to me as a kid is just that simple, the blue rectangle, and then the deep note coming in. It felt like, and continues to feel like, the voice of God, really, the deep note. It's an almost transcendent sound, that this is something that is beyond anything you can imagine.
It was always state-of-the-art animation, state-of-the-art sound, and that idea of pushing that same limit with our trailer and try to create something that pushes the visual boundaries, and that's what THX is about, is the best sound, is the best picture, and we want to be able to create something that really shows off both of those.
For me, I think our starting place for developing the THX project was previous THX pieces, and early on, we all looked at the THX Amazing Life piece, which was really effective.
We wanted to start with kind of an imaginative palette that is bigger and more distinctive than anything we've seen. How can what we're doing simultaneously showcase what THX is able to do, but also thematically bring that to life in some way? I mean, the deep note is amazing, but it's not a narrative thing. What is a narrative that makes sense of the deep note?
They gave me a concept that was written down, and we had a conversations about what they had in mind. But at the end of the day, once you put it down on paper, it kind of like becomes a reality. Okay, so this is what it looks like. Going from the written form to the drawing itself, it's a really interesting process, and it's exciting because if I do it right and they like it, then I know this is like the foundation for everything else that is coming after.
So we were thinking about how could we do this in one single take, right? And the running time is about 45 seconds. So you think, well, you need to have an environment or a world that allows you to move around inside this space. You're trying to think about what is a cool magic trick that you can perform for each one of these transitions. And that's something that will work throughout a whole piece that then builds up to something even bigger.
Knowing the history of THX, we had to put in some homages of some of the great previous trailers that preceded us and that we were influenced by. One of them, of course, is Tex, the robot who fixes the THX sign. Everybody remembers that. The other thing that was really fun, was very influential for us, was from Amazing Life, which is a really, really great, sort of ahead of its time piece. So we threw in some flowers from Amazing Life as well. And for us, it's really important because at the end of the day, this is about a 35th anniversary and a celebration of history of the company and the mission of the company, and we hope that we're honoring all of that. Well, after months and months of working on the picture side of things, we're finally at the mixing stage, bringing together all the elements, picture with the sound design, musical elements, backgrounds, and trying to put it together in the most immersive way possible.
The sound is really what grounds all of the visuals. And without a big, strong sound, you don't feel like the world is as real.
With animation, the audience is more open to a world of sounds that they might not hear in their everyday life. So as far as perspective, it's really fun because you can play any point of view you want at any given moment.
You're basically zooming out of something and even going upside down, and you can actually have things zooming around you and flying over you and to the side and up and down. They designed the spot for the spatial audio world because you're basically zooming out of something and even like going upside down and, you know, all these fun transitions. So it's a really fun spot to play with, panning and using the entire space.
I often generate a lot of sounds on my own using synthesizers, modular synths, some sci-fi treasures and goodies that I've made over the years that maybe haven't made it into certain science fiction films I've been able to use. And there's a section of the piece where we're in space before we arrive at the THX logo. And I was playing with, you know, taking tiny filter slivers of the original deep note and placing them all in kind of different places and echoing them out, and they all kind of slowly converge as if every deep note that's ever been heard is still floating out in space, and you as the audience member are floating through that space and you're hearing all the old ones as they go by, but you're traveling towards the current one.
The exciting thing about working on something that's so well known already is you realize very quickly that we are inheriting a kind of identity and a brand that we have to do right by. And so that goes for the team at THX, but also for the audiences over the years who've enjoyed these trailers. And so that's my hope for this piece, is that we'll take the audience into a world that they could never have imagined before. And that's only made possible by THX.
I'm a fan of movies and sound, and to be a part of this new THX deep note after it's been around for like 35 years, it's pretty crazy. I'm still not sure I believe it.
The idea of this going full circle is really exciting because the first time I saw it was in a movie theater. And then now here we are later on as a professional to contribute to making the next THX animation. It's exciting to be able to show it to the world, and in such a big way, in a theater with an awesome sound system. I mean, what could be more exciting?
The most exciting thing for me is just the idea that someone out there who's younger will see the piece and it'll sort of make the world open up slightly larger, or make them think about possibilities that perhaps they hadn't thought about before in terms of what we can do in the creative arts, in the visual arts, in the sonic arts. It might find a path for that person, and maybe one day they'll be sitting right here, I guess, finishing their own film or television series or other piece of, you know, visual media that has an emotional impact on someone else.